Do you ever feel your voice fade when you need it most? You're not alone. Many people hold back because they fear judgment or don't know where to start. Imagine walking into a room and knowing exactly what to say and how to say it. You can feel the energy shift as people lean in to listen. In this video, you will learn simple steps to speak with confidence and connect on a deeper level. We will guide you through practical exercises that anyone can use from today. You'll discover how to silence doubt, stand firm in your truth, and build real trust with every conversation. This is more than tips. This is a blueprint for changing how you show up every day. If you're ready to stop holding back and start owning your voice, keep watching. It's time to always truly transform your life, one word at a time. Chapter 1. Speak clearly and mean every word you say. Most people talk every day, but very few actually communicate with strength, purpose, and clarity. Speaking clearly is not just about pronunciation or grammar. It's about speaking with presence. It's about saying what you truly mean and meaning what you say. When you do this, your words carry weight. People listen. You start building trust, not just in others, but in yourself. Confidence is not about volume or flair. It's about alignment between your thoughts, your words, and your actions. And that begins with clear, intentional speech. When you speak clearly, you eliminate the fog that weak communication creates. There's no guessing, no confusion, no second guessing. You're not hiding behind vague phrases or filler words. You're not speaking just to fill silence or to please people. You're speaking because what you have to say matters, and you've taken the time to understand it yourself before offering it to the world. Most people fall into the habit of speaking without thinking, without grounding their words in purpose. Say things to fit in, to sound impressive, or to avoid discomfort. But when you train yourself to slow down, to speak less but mean more, everything changes. You begin to carry yourself differently. You command attention without asking for it, and you feel proud of your voice because it's no longer just noise, it's a tool for impact. Speaking clearly starts with clarity of thought. You cannot expect to deliver a strong message if your mind is full of clutter. You must train yourself to think in simple, clean lines. Before you open your mouth, ask yourself, what is the real message I want to get across? What am I trying to say, and why does it matter? Strip it down, remove the fluff, get to the heart of what you believe, then express it in the most direct and honest way possible. You don't need to use big words to sound smart. You don't need to be theatrical to be powerful. You just need to be real. And real always cuts deeper than polished surface-level talk. There's also a sense of responsibility that comes with speaking clearly. Your words have consequences. They shape how people see you. They affect how people feel around you. If your words are careless, you damage trust. If your words are weak, you lose respect. But when your words are rooted in truth and delivered with clarity, people begin to lean in. They know they can count on what you say, and that kind of trust opens doors that performance and charm never can. It's easy to fall into the trap of over-explaining or trying to say the right thing in every situation. But when you train yourself to be clear, you learn that it's not about saying more, it's about saying what matters. Cut the filler. Speak directly. If you need to apologize, do it with honesty. If you need to give an opinion, do it with respect, but without watering it down. If you need to express a boundary, do it without guilt. That's what speaking clearly looks like in the real world. Every conversation you have is a mirror. It reflects the relationship you have with yourself. If you're unclear with others, you're likely unclear with yourself. If you say things you don't mean, it shows a gap between your inner truth and your outer voice. And that gap leads to self-doubt, to frustration, to regret. But when you begin speaking from a place of alignment, you feel more grounded. You know you're being honest, you know you're being true to who you are, and that inner peace will always shine through in your words. This is not just about speaking with others, it's about how you talk to yourself. If your internal dialogue is filled with doubt, if you hesitate or second-guess everything you say, then no amount of surface-level confidence will fix that. You need to be clear with yourself first. That means making decisions and standing by them. That means knowing what your values are and expressing them without apology. That means eliminating the noise of outside approval and learning to speak your truth, even when it's uncomfortable. Confidence in conversation doesn't come from rehearsing lines or trying to impress people. It comes from being deeply connected to your words. When you say something, you must be able to stand behind it, not because it sounds good, but because it reflects what you truly believe. People can feel when someone is speaking from that place. It's rare, and because it's rare, it's powerful. If you want to improve this skill, start by observing your own conversation. Pay attention to the moments when you ramble, when you avoid the point, when you say things out of habit rather than intention. Catch yourself, pause, then reframe. Practice saying things in a way that feels honest and firm. You don't need to rush, you don't need to be perfect, you just need to be sincere and steady. Here's a practical habit to build. Before any important conversation, take 60 seconds to get clear on your message. Write it down if you need to. Ask yourself what outcome you want and what truth you need to express to get there. Then when you speak, stay close to that truth. Don't drift. Don't add noise, just stick to what matters. You'll find that your communication becomes cleaner and your confidence grows with every conversation. Another key practice is to eliminate filler language from your daily speech. Phrases like you know, like, I guess, or maybe dilute your message and weaken your presence. Begin replacing them with calm pauses or strong conclusions. Don't be afraid of silence. It gives your words space to land, and don't be afraid to end your sentence without softening it. Let your words carry weight, let them stand on their own. You must also pay attention to your body language. Speaking clearly is not just about words, it's about how you hold yourself, how you look someone in the eye, how you use your hands, how you breathe. All of these elements either support your message or sabotage it. Train yourself to be steady, grounded, and deliberate in your movements. Confidence is felt before it's heard. When your presence and your speech are aligned, you become a force. People often think that communication is about being liked. It's not. It's about being understood and respected. And the fastest way to earn that is to speak with clarity and conviction. That doesn't mean being harsh. That means being honest. Say what needs to be said, even when it's difficult. Respect yourself enough not to sugarcoat the truth. And respect others enough to deliver it with calm strength. In moments of tension or conflict, this skill becomes even more important. Most people either explode or shut down. But when you speak clearly and mean your words, you don't fall into those traps. You hold your ground, you speak without aggression, but also without apology. That's what maturity looks like. That's what strength sounds like. The goal is not to be perfect in every conversation. The goal is to be real, consistent and intentional. Some days you'll fumble, some moments will catch you off guard. That's fine. What matters is that you keep showing up with the discipline to speak better. Every day, you get the chance to improve. And the more you do it, the more natural it becomes. Your voice is one of the most powerful tools you have, but it only becomes powerful when you use it with clarity and meaning. Speak less, speak better. Be someone who means every word they say, because once you master that, people will begin to listen. And more importantly, you will begin to trust yourself on a whole new level. That is where real confidence lives. Not in volume, not in performance, but in truth spoken with quiet power. Chapter 2. Listen deeply and make others feel truly heard. Most people hear to reply. Very few listen to understand, and even fewer listen in a way that makes the other person feel deeply valued. If you want to master communication, you must first master listening. Listening deeply is one of the rarest and most powerful skills you can develop. It shows strength, patience, and control. It shows that you are not just focused on yourself, but you are present enough to understand someone else's world. That kind of presence changes lives. It builds trust, it earns respect, and it creates real connection that words alone can never reach. When someone feels truly heard, something opens inside of them. They feel safe. They feel seen. And in that moment, you create space for something honest to happen. That space is where transformation begins. Deep listening is not passive. It is an active commitment to silence your own noise so you can take in someone else's experience without judgment, without interruption, and without distraction. That discipline builds your character. It builds your mind, and it strengthens your relationships in ways that nothing else can. Listening is not just about staying quiet while the other person speaks. It's about being fully present, not thinking about what you're going to say next, not preparing your response, not drifting into your own thoughts. It means focusing on the other person's words, tone, emotions, and meaning. It means noticing what's being said and also what's not being said. It's about being aware of the silence between their sentences and what that silence holds. It's about giving someone your full presence and attention with no agenda. That level of presence is rare, but it's life-changing. To listen deeply, you have to train your mind to slow down. You have to get comfortable with not being the center of the moment. You have to stop the need to fix, to respond quickly, or to prove something. None of that is necessary when your intention is to understand. When you drop the need to perform and replace it with the discipline to observe, your ability to listen transforms. And when your listening transforms, everything around you gets better. When you practice deep listening, people feel it. They speak more freely. They trust you more. They stop pretending and start showing you who they really are. This happens not because you said something clever, but because you made them feel like they mattered. That emotional safety is more valuable than advice, opinions, or feedback. It's what helps people open up and grow, and it's what builds the foundation of every strong connection you will ever have. You also start to grow when you listen deeply. You begin to understand perspectives that are not your own. You start to notice patterns in how people express themselves. You become more empathetic, more emotionally intelligent, and more wise. The people who grow fastest in life are not the ones who talk the most. They are the ones who listen well. Because listening gives you access to knowledge, insight, and experience that you cannot get on your own. One of the most important habits you can build is learning how to listen without reacting. Most people interrupt because they feel uncomfortable with what they hear, or because they feel the urge to control the conversation. But if you want to build confidence and clarity, you must resist that impulse. Let people finish their thoughts. Let people finish their thoughts. Let the silence stretch if it needs to. Hold space for them without rushing in to fill it. That shows strength. That shows maturity, and that allows the truth to emerge, unfiltered and honest. To make someone feel heard, you must listen, not only with your ears, but with your whole presence. Make eye contact. Put away distractions. Nod when it's appropriate. Use your body to show that you are fully engaged. But more than that, remove the mental distractions. Don't compare their story to your own. Don't try to outdo their experience. Don't shift the focus back to you. Just listen. Just absorb. Just be with them. That level of attention is rare and powerful. When someone tells you something vulnerable or difficult, don't rush to give advice. Don't minimize their experience. Don't try to fix it unless they ask for your help. Just acknowledge their reality. Sometimes the most powerful thing you can say is, "I hear you." That simple acknowledgement can have a greater impact than any solution you could offer. Because people don't want to be solved, they want to be understood. You don't need to agree with everything someone says to listen with care. Deep listening does not mean surrendering your belief. It means suspending judgment long enough to truly understand theirs. That doesn't make you weak. It makes you wise. It makes you someone who can handle truth from many angles without getting defensive or reactive. That strength of mind will serve you in every area of life. Real confidence comes from being able to hold space for others without needing to dominate it. You become the kind of person others trust because they know you are not listening to use their words against them. You are listening because you care. That kind of integrity is rare in this world, and it's something you can cultivate every single day. Practice it in every conversation. Next time you're speaking with someone, catch yourself when you feel the urge to interrupt. Notice the thoughts that pull your attention away. Bring your focus back to the other person's words. Watch how they light up when they realize you're actually listening. Watch how their energy shifts. That shift is what connection looks like. That's the moment you go beyond surface-level communication and into something deeper. Start small. Give someone your full attention for 5 minutes, without checking your phone, without cutting in, without turning the spotlight on yourself. Do this once a day, then do it more. Then bring that energy into your closest relationship. You will begin to notice that people open up more easily around you. You'll notice that conversations become more meaningful. And you'll feel more calm and confident in every interaction, because your presence is no longer tied to what you say, but to how you listen. Being a great listener is not about talent. It's about practice and intention. You don't need to be perfect. You just need to be honest, curious and present. Make it a part of your daily discipline to listen with your whole self, not for praise, not to look good, but because it's the right thing to do. Because it builds strength in you. And because it makes other people feel like they matter. The most influential people are not the loudest. They are the ones who can make others feel safe, seen and understood. And the best way to do that is not by speaking more, but by listening better. The more you build this muscle, the more powerful you become. Not in a way that controls others, but in a way that earns their trust and deepens your own peace of mind. Every day gives you the chance to listen with more care. Every conversation is a training ground. Use it, grow through it, become the kind of person who listens not just with their ears, but with their heart. Because once people know you are truly listening, they will begin to speak the truth. And in that space, real change begins, for them and for you. Chapter 3. Ask thoughtful questions that spark honest connection. Asking thoughtful questions is a powerful way to open someone's mind and heart. It's not about interrogating or impressing. It's about showing genuine interest in the other person's world. Most people go through life waiting for their turn to speak, but few take the time to ask a question that actually makes the other person reflect or feel understood. When you ask the right question, you give someone the gift of being seen. You give them permission to go deeper, to express what they usually keep hidden, and to connect with you in a way that goes far beyond small talk. A thoughtful question isn't complicated or clever. It's clear, it's intentional, and it's rooted in curiosity. You don't need to sound smart, you just need to care about the answer. You need to be present enough to notice what matters to the other person. That awareness allows you to ask questions that bring down walls and open doors. The goal is not to fill silence. The goal is to invite honesty, to create space for truth, and to help someone feel safe enough to be themselves around you. You don't build deep connection by dominating conversations. You build it by creating room for the other person to share something real. One sincere question asked with patience and presence can unlock more trust than hours of talking about yourself. Most people are starving to be asked something meaningful, not about what they do or what they've achieved, but about what they think, what they feel, what they fear, and what they hope for. When you ask those kinds of questions, you make a lasting impression, not by performing, but by caring enough to explore what lies beneath the surface. To ask thoughtful questions, you first have to slow down. You have to stop trying to control the direction of the conversation, and instead tune into where the other person is emotionally and mentally. That awareness gives you insight into what kind of question will help them open up. Sometimes it's as simple as asking, what matters most to you right now, or what's been on your mind lately? These kinds of questions cut through the noise and bring the conversation to life. You don't need to force anything, just be present, observe the flow of the moment, and ask questions that invite reflection. Avoid questions that lead to one-word answers. Instead, ask questions that require thought, questions that make someone pause before they speak. That pause is where you know the question landed. That's where the truth starts to rise. A powerful question is not about you sounding deep, it's about the other person feeling free to be honest. Don't ask just to ask. Ask with the intention to understand. People can feel the difference. A question asked from ego feels intrusive. A question asked from care feels comforting. If you want people to open up, create a space where they don't feel judged or rushed. Ask, then wait. Be silent. Let them think. Let them feel. Let them trust that they don't need to perform for you. That patience is a sign of strength. Real connection doesn't come from talking about everything. It comes from asking about what matters. It comes from caring enough to notice when someone's words don't match their energy and asking them what's really going on. It comes from saying, "You mentioned this earlier. What did you mean by that?" These small moments show the other person that you're not just listening, but that you're engaged on a deeper level. That kind of attention makes them feel important. And everyone wants to feel important, not because of pride, but because it reminds them they are not alone. You don't need to know someone well to ask them a thoughtful question. You just need to be fully present. Even with strangers, you can ask questions that shift the conversation from shallow to meaningful. Ask someone how they're really doing. Ask what's been challenging them lately. Ask what they're looking forward to. These questions are simple, but they open the door to real exchange. You're not trying to fix them. You're giving them a space to feel understood. Thoughtful questions are also a powerful tool for self-growth. When you train yourself to ask the right questions, you become a better thinker. You become more curious, more aware, and more mindful of the people around you. You stop rushing through conversations and start engaging with depth. That discipline sharpens your emotional intelligence. It makes you more trustworthy. It makes you someone others seek out, not because you always have the answers, but because you help them uncover their own. There is wisdom in knowing when to ask a question and when to stay silent. Sometimes the most powerful moment in a conversation happens right after a meaningful question is asked, and the silence that follows becomes the space where truth rises. Don't be afraid of that silence. Don't rush it. Just hold it. Let the other person feel that this moment matters. That is how you create honesty. That is how you create connection. Not every question needs to be deep, but every question should be sincere. If you're not curious, don't ask. If you're not ready to listen, don't interrupt. But if you're willing to be present, if you're open enough to care, then let your questions be a reflection of that. Ask someone what they value. Ask them what they've learned this year. Ask them who has influenced their thinking. These are not heavy questions. They are real. They are human. And they remind the person you're speaking with that this conversation is not just another exchange of words. It's a moment of meaning. When you begin to ask thoughtful questions regularly, you'll notice how differently people respond to you. You'll see them shift from guarded to open. You'll feel the energy of the conversation become more honest. You'll realize that the quality of your relationships is directly linked to the quality of your questions. The more intentional you are, the more meaningful your connections become. And this doesn't just apply to personal relationships, it transforms your professional ones too. In the workplace, thoughtful questions show leadership. They show that you're not just focused on output, but on understanding people and helping them bring out their best. Questions like what's getting in your way, or what support would be most helpful right now, can change the tone of a team. They can boost morale. They can build trust where it was broken. In every setting, the way you ask determines the depth of what you receive. The discipline of asking better questions also teaches humility. It reminds you that you don't have all the answers. It helps you approach others with curiosity rather than control. That mindset shift leads to stronger teams, deeper friendships, and more authentic partnerships. You stop assuming, you start exploring, you stop reacting, you start learning. Every day, you have countless opportunities to ask questions that build trust and connection. Use them. In your family, ask with presence. In your relationships, ask with kindness. In your work, ask with clarity. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. You'll start seeing people not as problems to solve, but as stories to understand. That shift will make you more grounded, more connected, and more powerful in your ability to lead with quiet strength. If you want to improve your conversations, stop trying to be impressive, start being more interested. Train yourself to ask one meaningful question in every interaction. Do it with presence. Do it without an agenda, and watch what happens. Watch how people start to relax around you. Watch how their words carry more weight. Watch how you both walk away from the conversation, feeling lighter and more alive. That's what happens when honesty enters the room. Thoughtful questions are not tools to manipulate. They are tools to connect. They are a reflection of self-respect and respect for others. And when used with sincerity, they will elevate every relationship you care about. Keep practicing. Keep listening. Keep asking with heart. Because the moment you make someone feel safe enough to share something real, that's the moment you stop being just another voice and start becoming someone they'll never forget. Chapter 4. Stand tall and express your truth with strength. There's a quiet kind of power that rises in you when you stop holding back your truth. It's not loud or aggressive. It's not about proving anything or demanding attention. It's about standing grounded in who you are, knowing what you believe, and having the courage to express it without shrinking. When you begin to live and speak from this place, you stop trying to be accepted by everyone and start respecting yourself on a deeper level, and that's when real confidence takes root. Not the surface kind that fades with opinions, but the kind that stays with you in every room you walk into. Standing tall is more than just posture. It's about presence. It's about the way you carry your values, your voice, and your energy. When you walk into a conversation fully rooted in who you are, without pretending or performing, you make people feel your integrity before you even speak. And when you do speak, it lands. It has weight. It holds truth. That's the kind of strength that can't be faked. Expressing your truth doesn't mean talking over others or forcing your view on them. It means knowing your perspective, honoring your experience, and having the self-respect to speak honestly, even when it's uncomfortable. Especially when it's uncomfortable. There will always be moments where silence feels easier, where avoiding conflict feels safer, where watering down your truth seems more polite. But every time you choose not to speak your truth, a small part of you shrinks. And if you keep doing it, you start to lose the connection with your own voice. The cost of hiding your truth is your inner peace. You can't feel strong when you're always trying to fit in. You can't feel grounded when you're constantly editing yourself to please others. There is nothing noble in pretending to be someone you're not. True respect is born from honesty. People might not always agree with you, but they'll respect you more when you speak with clarity, when you stand behind your words, when you express yourself with calm, unwavering strength. Strength doesn't need to shout. In fact, the strongest people often speak the most softly, not because they're afraid, but because they've trained themselves to be deliberate with their words. When you truly believe in what you're saying, you don't need to over-explain. You don't need to seek validation. You speak once, clearly and firmly, and then you let your words stand. You let your presence do the rest. But before you can speak your truth, you must know what your truth is. You must take time to reflect on what matters to you, what your values are, and what you're unwilling to compromise. You must face your fears, the fear of being judged, misunderstood, or rejected. And you must decide that your voice matters more than anyone's approval. This is not about being stubborn or inflexible. It's about being honest with yourself and having the discipline to live in alignment with what you believe. There will be people who challenge you. There will be situations where speaking up feels risky. But you must remember that your inner strength grows every time you choose courage over comfort. Every time you stand tall and express your truth, you reinforce your identity. You become more unshakable. You earn your own respect. And that self-respect is worth more than temporary acceptance. There's a certain kind of peace that follows a moment of honesty. Even if the other person doesn't respond the way you hoped, even if the situation gets tense, you will walk away with your head high, knowing you didn't hide who you are. That clarity builds confidence. It teaches you to trust yourself, and over time, it teaches others to trust you too. People gravitate toward those who are rooted in themselves. They feel safe around someone who is not swayed by every opinion, who doesn't shift with every trend, who knows who they are and lives like it. Your truth doesn't have to be dramatic or revolutionary. It just has to be real. You don't need to pretend to have all the answers. You just need to speak from a place of sincerity. Say what you mean what you say, and don't speak for the sake of being heard. Speak when it matters, when it reflects something that needs to be honored. When you do this consistently, you build a life of integrity. You stop fearing conflict. You stop fearing silence. You begin to trust the strength in your own backbone. If you've been quiet for too long, if you've been holding back because you were afraid of how others might respond, then now is the time to take a step forward. Start small if you need to. Speak honestly in a conversation that matters. Share your real opinion instead of agreeing just to keep peace. Tell someone how you actually feel instead of bottling it up. Each moment you choose truth over comfort is a win. It trains your mind to stop seeking external permission and start living with internal conviction. Your truth will evolve as you grow, and that's part of the process. You're not expected to have everything figured out, but you are responsible for honoring what feels true to you right now. Don't abandon your voice because you think it's not perfect. Don't stay silent because you fear being wrong. The discipline of standing tall is not about being flawless. It's about being honest, being responsible, and being willing to take ownership of your thoughts, your beliefs, and your choices. No one else can speak your truth for you. That's your responsibility. That's your privilege. And once you learn to stand tall, you'll realize that the strength you were looking for was always inside you. It just needed permission to rise. The more you practice, the stronger your voice becomes. The more you show up fully, the more power you feel in your chest. And eventually, standing tall becomes natural. It becomes who you are, not something you perform, but something you embody. There will still be moments of doubt, that's normal. But doubt doesn't mean you're weak, it means you're human. Feel it, then act anyway. Speak with clarity, express your truth. Not to be right, but to be real. Not to dominate, but to stand in your own light. The world doesn't need more noise. It needs more people willing to speak from the heart. With strength, with calm, with purpose, you can be one of those people. You do not need to prove yourself, you only need to know yourself. The world respects those who walk with purpose and speak with integrity. So give yourself permission to stop holding back. Stop softening your truth to make others comfortable. Stop trading honesty for acceptance. You were not built to shrink. You were not meant to live in fear of your own voice. Every time you stand tall and express your truth with strength, you set yourself free. You break the chains of people-pleasing. You rise above the noise, and you reclaim the power that's always been yours to hold. That is how you change your life, from the inside out. That is how you become someone who doesn't just speak, but speaks with presence, speaks with strength, and speaks with unshakable truth. Chapter 5. Control your tone to match your true intention. What you say matters, but how you say it often matters more. Words carry meaning, but tone carries emotion, and it's emotion that people respond to. You can have the right message, the right logic, even the right intent, but if your tone doesn't align with your truth, your message will be misunderstood. People hear your tone before they understand your words. They feel it before they process anything else. That's why mastering your tone is not about performance. It's about alignment. It's about making sure the energy behind your words reflects the purpose you stand for. Tone is the emotional blueprint of your communication. It reveals your mindset, your respect, your patience, your self-awareness. You may want to support someone, but if your tone is rushed or distracted, they'll feel dismissed. You may intend to be clear, but if your tone sounds sharp or defensive, they'll hear criticism instead. Your tone either brings people closer or pushes them away, and if you're unaware of it, you're leaving a critical part of your message up to chance. There's a discipline in adjusting your tone with awareness. It requires you to be present, not reactive. It forces you to slow down and ask yourself, what am I really trying to communicate right now? Am I trying to connect or control? Am I trying to support or prove something? Your true intention must come through your tone, not just your words. Otherwise, you send a mixed signal, and mixed signals create confusion, tension, and mistrust. Tone is more than just volume. It's the pace, the inflection, the warmth, the calmness, the steadiness in your voice. It's the presence you carry into the space between sentences. You can say "I'm fine" in a way that sounds cold or caring. You can say "I understand" and still sound condescending. It's not just about vocabulary, it's about emotional awareness. And this awareness begins by learning how to regulate your internal state before you speak. To control your tone, you must first control your breath. Breath affects tension. Tension affects tone. When you're angry, anxious, or rushed, your tone tightens. It becomes sharp or clipped. You speak too fast. You interrupt. You raise your voice. But when you breathe deeply and center yourself, your voice softens. You pause more. You speak with rhythm. You give people space to hear and absorb, not just the words, but the emotion behind them. Controlling your tone is not about being inauthentic. It's about staying connected to your intention. There's a quiet kind of leadership in someone who knows how to communicate with calm certainty. You feel their stability. You trust their energy. They don't panic when things go wrong. They don't lash out when they feel frustrated. They control their tone because they've trained themselves to respond instead of react. That's not weakness. That's power under control. That's the kind of presence that influences others without force. Sometimes the most damaging words are not cruel or vulgar. They're just spoken in the wrong tone. A sarcastic tone can make a helpful comment sound mocking. A loud tone can make a neutral point feel aggressive. An impatient tone can make someone shut down before you even finish speaking. That's why emotional intelligence is the foundation of effective communication. It helps you tune into what the other person might feel based on how you're delivering your message, not just what you're trying to say. You can practice aligning your tone by observing how people respond to you. If they seem defensive, distant, or disengaged, it might not be the content, it might be the delivery. Don't take it personally. Use it as feedback. Ask yourself, did my tone match the respect I wanted to show? Did it carry the clarity I was aiming for? Was I calm or was I rushing? The more you notice, the more you can course correct in real time. Over time, this becomes second nature. A controlled tone doesn't mean a flat tone. You're not meant to sound robotic or emotional. You're meant to sound centered. There's a difference between expressing emotion and being consumed by it. You can be passionate without being overwhelming. You can be direct without being harsh. You can be firm without being cold. When your tone is intentional, it gives your message weight. People listen more when they feel safe, and tone creates that safety. If you want to resolve conflict, tone is everything. People stop listening the moment they feel attacked. They shut down when they sense judgment. But if your tone is steady and non-reactive, they open up. They hear you not just as a voice, but as a presence. You can say difficult truths gently. You can ask hard questions calmly. You can disagree without disrespect. That's what mature communication looks like. Strong words carried by a controlled tone. In relationships, tone is the silent architect. You can build connection or create distance, depending on how you speak. You can express love in 1,000 ways, but it's the tone that makes it felt. You can give support with a single sentence, but if your tone is cold, it won't land. If you want to make someone feel valued, match your words with warmth. If you want to express concern, let your tone slow down. Don't just speak, transmit presence. When you're misunderstood, check your tone before defending your word. People rarely remember exactly what was said, but they always remember how they felt when you said it. If they felt dismissed, insulted, or invisible, the conversation will be about your tone, not your point. So take responsibility for how your voice lands. Own the energy you bring into a room. Speak in a way that reflects discipline, not impulse. The tone you use with yourself matters too. The way you speak in your own mind affects your posture, your choices, your energy. If your inner tone is always critical, you will walk through life feeling tense and unworthy. But if your inner tone is calm, clear, and respectful, you will carry yourself differently. Control your tone inside, and you'll begin to control how you show up outside. Speak like someone who respects their own voice. Speak like someone who respects the listener. When your tone reflects clarity, intention, and emotional control, your words gain strength. You don't need to talk more to be heard. You just need to speak with presence. The world is noisy. A calm, clear tone cuts through the noise like nothing else. You don't need perfect words to be understood. You need a tone that reflects honesty, stability, and care. You can guide, correct, teach, lead, all with the right tone. And when your tone reflects your truth, your message reaches deep. People may not remember every word you said, but they will carry the feeling of your tone for a long time. That's the kind of impact that lasts. That's the power of mastering not just your voice, but the energy behind it. Chapter 6. Remove nervous habits and speak with calm focus. The way you carry yourself in conversation reflects far more than just the message you're trying to deliver. People notice how you breathe, how you move your hands, how often your eyes dart around the room. Every subtle behavior either strengthens your credibility or weakens it. Nervous habits are not flaws, they're signs. They reveal the tension you haven't learned to master yet. They point to the mental noise that clouds your message. If you want to speak with calm focus, you must begin by noticing what your body does when your mind feels unsure. You must recognize how fear expresses itself in movement. The tapping fingers, the bouncing legs, the throat clearing, the constant filler words, these aren't random. They are protective mechanisms your nervous system activates when it senses discomfort. But protection is not always helpful. What protects you from fear can also prevent you from being fully present. Nervous habits pull you out of the moment. They distract you and the person you're speaking to. They water down your message, making you seem uncertain even when your words are strong. That's why calm focus is a skill you build by training your nervous system, not just your speech. To change how you express yourself, start by changing how you observe yourself. Pay attention to your habits without judgment. Awareness comes before correction. You cannot fix what you do not fully notice. Record your voice during conversations or presentations. Watch your gestures. Listen to how often you say like, or you know. These patterns are not the problem, they're symptoms. The deeper issue is the underlying anxiety you haven't yet learned to master. Nervous habits are your body's way of releasing that inner tension. But once you understand that, you can start doing something more constructive with that energy. Calm speakers are not born, they are trained. They've learned how to breathe through tension instead of react to it. They've practiced stillness until it becomes natural. They've stripped away distracting movements so their presence becomes clear and centered. They've created space between thought and reaction, and this space is where calm focus lives. It doesn't mean you don't feel nervous. It means your body and mind are no longer ruled by that nervousness. You can learn to ground yourself before every conversation. It starts with your breath. A shallow breath keeps your body in a state of alertness. A slow, deep breath signals safety to your brain. When you breathe with intention, you anchor your awareness. You gain the ability to pause before reacting. You become less likely to fidget or rush. The breath reconnects you to your center, and when you speak from your center, your message carries more weight. Replace nervous movements with tensional stillness. Place your feet flat on the ground. Let your hands rest naturally, or use them sparingly to support your message. Keep your shoulders relaxed. Hold eye contact, not aggressively, but steadily. These physical habits train your body to stay calm even when your heart beats faster. Over time, your nervous system begins to associate speaking with strength, not danger. You rewire your internal response. What once felt overwhelming becomes manageable. What once made you shrink now makes you rise. Mental discipline is just as important. Nervous speech often comes from overthinking, trying to say everything perfectly, worrying about being judged, rushing to fill silence. But focus is not about controlling every word. It's about letting go of the fear of imperfection. When you trust your message, you don't need to rush it. When you speak from clarity, you stop trying to impress. You focus on connection, not performance. This shift in intention naturally reduces anxiety. You're no longer trying to protect your ego, you're simply showing up with purpose. Let go of filler words by embracing silence. Many people fear the pause between thoughts because they think silence is weakness, but silence is strength when used with intention. It gives your audience space to absorb. It gives you a moment to collect your thoughts. Pausing shows confidence. It tells others you are not rushing to prove yourself. Instead of filling space with noise, you let your words breathe. This habit creates rhythm in your communication and helps you maintain presence throughout the interaction. Another way to eliminate nervous habits is to rehearse with pressure. Simulate the environment that makes you uncomfortable. Speak in front of a mirror. Record a video of yourself. Practice in front of friends who can give honest feedback. Don't just prepare your message, prepare your body. Practice grounding yourself before you speak. Practice slowing down your pace. The more you rehearse under pressure, the more your body learns to respond with calm instead of panic. The nervous system adapts to what it experiences consistently. Train it to stay relaxed under stress. Also, accept that growth comes with discomfort. You don't eliminate nervous habits by avoiding conversation. You eliminate them by walking through the fire of awkwardness again and again until it no longer burns. Every time you speak when your voice shakes, you build resilience. Every time you hold eye contact when you want to look away, you build control. Confidence is not built in the absence of nerves. It's built by learning how to function despite them. The fear doesn't need to disappear for you to act with focus. It just needs to be managed. Stay anchored in your purpose. Nervous habits often arise when your attention is on yourself. How you look, how you sound, what others might think. But when you shift your focus to the value you want to deliver, the pressure eases. You stop obsessing over your performance and start caring about the message. When your purpose is bigger than your fear, your nervous habits lose their grip. Remember, people connect with sincerity more than perfection. You don't have to speak flawlessly to make an impact. You just need to be present, intentional, and grounded. Your calm focus becomes a signal to others, a signal that says you can be trusted, you're in control, you believe in what you're saying. This kind of presence is magnetic. It draws people in. It allows your message to land deeply and stay with them long after the conversation ends. The journey to calm, focused speech is not about becoming someone else. It's about removing the unnecessary layers that block your natural strength. It's about learning how to channel nervous energy into clarity. It's about trusting your voice enough to stand still in it. And most importantly, it's about building the inner discipline to remain steady no matter how fast your heart races. Speak not to impress, but to express. Express your truth without tension. Let your voice reflect clarity, not chaos. And when you find yourself slipping back into nervous patterns, don't judge yourself. Reset. Breathe. Pause. Return to presence. The more you practice this, the more natural it becomes. And eventually, calm focus won't be something you try to achieve. It will be something you carry into every word, every pause, every room. Chapter 7. Own the silence and pause with quiet power. Most people fear silence in conversations. They feel an urge to fill every second with sound, as if the absence of words reveals something broken or awkward. But silence is not a weakness. It is not a gap to be quickly patched over with noise. Silence is a space of power, of clarity, of deep presence. It is a tool most people ignore, and because of that, they miss out on its impact. When used intentionally, silence becomes a statement stronger than words. It signals confidence, patience, and inner control. It tells others you are not afraid to think, not afraid to wait, not afraid to be still. To own the silence, you must first become comfortable in it. That starts by removing the idea that quiet means failure. There is no rule that says you must always ace. There is no requirement that demands you instantly respond. When you give yourself permission to pause, you create a space for meaning to rise. In this space, clarity emerges, emotion settles, intention sharpens. The pause becomes a moment where real understanding can form. And when you do speak, your words carry greater weight, not because they are louder or faster, but because they followed stillness. Most people rush because they fear being misunderstood. They talk over their own thoughts, trying to avoid vulnerability. They don't give themselves the space to think deeply, and in doing so they miss the strength of silence. A person who can pause in the middle of pressure communicates control. A person who can sit quietly while others speak demonstrates patience. These qualities are rare and powerful. They show that you are not trying to dominate the conversation, you are letting it unfold with intention. Owning silence requires mental discipline. It's not just about not talking. It's about being fully aware during the pause. It's about being steady in your breath, centered in your presence, calm in your thoughts. This calmness isn't visible in words, but people feel it. They can sense when your silence is grounded rather than anxious. They can tell the difference between avoidance and composure. When your pauses come from stillness and not hesitation, they become a form of strength that others quietly respect. Think of the most powerful speakers you've heard. Rarely do they rush. They pause at key moments. They let their words settle before moving on. They are not afraid to let a message breathe. That breath, that pause, is what makes the message resonate. It's not just what is said, but how it is delivered. People remember what is said in the silence that follows. They reflect more deeply when there's space to absorb. The pause creates emphasis. It forces attention. It draws others in, because they recognize something real is being shared. In conversation, silence gives you power, because it gives you time. Time to think, time to feel, time to observe. You don't need to respond instantly. You don't need to fill space just to avoid discomfort. When someone asks you a question, allow yourself a second to think. When you make a point, give it a moment to land. These choices may seem small, but over time they shift how people perceive you. You go from sounding reactive to sounding thoughtful. You shift from appearing nervous to being seen as composed. When you pause, you also allow the other person's words to fully register. You don't jump in to defend. You don't interrupt with assumption. You give them the respect of full attention. This deepens trust. It shows maturity. It makes the other person feel valued. And that emotional impact strengthens connection. People remember how you made them feel more than what you said. When you listen in silence, you build that memory with intention. You don't need to fear silence, because silence is not empty. It is full of everything most people avoid. Reflection, awareness, vulnerability, authenticity. In a world addicted to speed and noise, the person who pauses stands out. The person who speaks slowly and deliberately commands more attention than the one who talks endlessly. This isn't about being dramatic, it's about being intentional. It's about removing the clutter so your message can shine without distraction. Learning to own silence starts with practice. Begin by observing when you tend to rush. Notice how quickly you reply in everyday conversations. Pay attention to your desire to fill space when things get quiet. These moments reveal your internal patterns. Once you see them, you can shift them. Start introducing intentional pauses into your speech. After someone finishes speaking, take a breath before you respond. When you reach an important point, stop and let it echo. When you're unsure what to say, resist the urge to blurt out filler. Trust that silence is part of your communication, not separate from it. Silence is also where emotional control is built. In difficult conversations, the space between words is where you regain composure. Instead of reacting emotionally, you give yourself a brief pause to respond with clarity. That moment of stillness can prevent regret. It can transform conflict into understanding. It gives you a choice. Without silence, you're at the mercy of your impulses. With it, you reclaim your authority over yourself. People often fear being judged for pausing too long, but the truth is, thoughtful silence builds credibility. The person who thinks before they speak is respected more than the one who speaks without thinking. Over time, this habit changes your presence. You speak less, but say more. You interrupt less, but connect more. You rush less, but impact more. You don't need more words to make your point. You need more intention behind fewer words, and silence gives you that intention. Silence is also a mirror. It shows you what's going on inside. If you feel panic in quiet moments, it's a sign to explore what thoughts are driving that discomfort. The more you sit with silence, the more you understand yourself, and the more you understand yourself, the more powerful your presence becomes. Because you no longer fear being exposed, you are grounded in who you are, even when no words are spoken. Quiet power is not loud, but it is unmistakable. It's found in the person who doesn't try to dominate, but still commands respect. It's in the one who listens more than they speak, yet everyone listens when they finally do. It's in the leader who pauses before giving direction, not because they lack answers, but because they value wisdom over speed. That kind of power isn't performed. It's earned through discipline. To own silence is to own your presence. You stop depending on words alone to prove your worth. You become comfortable in stillness. You let your calm speak before your voice does. And in doing so, you cultivate a form of strength that is rare, steady, and deeply impactful. Not everyone will notice your quiet power, but the right people will. And those who do will remember it far longer than anything else you said. Chapter 8. Say no with respect and protect your energy. Learning to say no is one of the most powerful skills you can develop. Not because you want to reject people, but because you understand the value of your time, your energy, and your peace. Many people say yes out of guilt, fear, or habit. They agree to things they don't want to do. They stretch themselves too thin. They put other people's comfort above their own priorities. But every time you say yes to something that doesn't align with your values or goals, you're saying no to something that does. You dilute your focus. You exhaust your energy. You betray your own needs just to avoid temporary discomfort. Saying no with respect is not about being cold or dismissive. It's about being clear and honest. It's about drawing boundaries without anger. You're not rejecting the person, you're protecting your direction. You can communicate this with kindness, but you must stand firm, because the world will always ask more of you than you can give. People will expect more than is fair. Opportunities will show up that sound exciting but will drain your bandwidth. If you don't learn to filter, you'll live in constant reaction. You'll stay busy, but feel empty. You'll do a lot, but build very little. Saying no gives you space to do what matters most. It lets you focus without interruption. It allows you to rest without guilt. It strengthens your ability to live on your terms. The more intentional you become, the more critical this skill becomes, because you start to realize that your time is your most limited resource. Once it's gone, it's gone. You can't rewind. You can't get it back. So every commitment you make needs to be chosen with awareness. People will not always respond well to your boundaries. Some will push back. Some will try to guilt you. Others may act offended. That's okay. You're not responsible for their reaction. You're only responsible for how you communicate your truth. When your no comes from respect for both yourself and the other person, it holds power. You don't have to over-explain. You don't have to justify your decision with long stories. A simple, firm and polite response is enough. And if someone truly values you, they will respect your boundaries, even if they're disappointed. The first few times you say no might feel uncomfortable. That's normal. You're breaking a pattern. You're shifting from people-pleasing to self-respect. That discomfort isn't a sign that you're doing something wrong. It's a signal that you're growing. You're beginning to protect your energy instead of giving it away to anyone who asks. You're starting to recognize that your life is built, not by what you say yes to, but by what you refuse to allow. And that shift makes you stronger. When you say no, you reinforce your priorities. You remind yourself what matters. You train yourself to choose wisely instead of react impulsively. That builds discipline. It creates a life that feels alive, and that alignment leads to greater peace, deeper fulfillment, and more meaningful progress. You stop feeling resentful because you're not overcommitting. You stop feeling drained because you're not doing things just to be liked. You stop living for other people's approval, and you start living for your purpose. There will always be more requests than you can handle, more events to attend, more favors to do, more distractions in disguise. If you try to please everyone, you will lose yourself. And the truth is, people don't respect those who constantly say yes out of fear. They may take advantage, they may assume your time is theirs. But when you set boundaries with confidence and kindness, you earn respect, even if it's not immediate. You show that you value yourself, and that teaches others how to value you too. Saying no also opens the door for others to step up. When you always say yes, you remove the chance for others to take responsibility. You carry the load, but they don't grow. You enable dependency instead of encouraging strength. But when you say no with love, you invite people to stretch, to try, to lead. You allow room for growth, both yours and theirs. Protecting your energy is not selfish. It is necessary, because your energy determines how you show up in the world. It affects your creativity, your mood, your patience, your drive. When your energy is drained, you don't think clearly. You don't lead effectively. You don't connect deeply. But when your energy is protected, you move with focus. You act with purpose. You live with strength. Saying no is how you preserve that strength. It's how you guard your potential. To build this habit, start small. Practice with low-risk situations. Say no to things that feel off. Say no to invitations that don't align. Say no to overcommitment, even if it feels hard. Watch how your mind tries to talk you out of it. Notice the guilt or anxiety that shows up. And choose your boundary anyway. Over time, your confidence will grow, your clarity will sharpen, your ability to protect your space will become second nature. You don't have to explain your no with long excuses. You don't need to apologize for putting yourself first. A respectful "I appreciate the offer, but I can't commit to that right now" is enough. A sincere "thanks for thinking of me, but I'm going to have to pass" sends a clear message. These statements are not rude. They are rooted in maturity. They reflect a person who knows their limits and honors them. Sometimes, saying no means disappointing people. That's okay. You are not responsible for making everyone happy. You are responsible for living with integrity. And you cannot do that if you constantly sacrifice your own needs for others. The more you say no with strength and compassion, the easier it becomes. You start to realize that most people get over it. The world doesn't end. And even when someone reacts poorly, you know you stayed true to yourself. Saying no creates freedom. It gives you room to breathe. It builds a life that feels lighter, more focused, and more authentic. You stop rushing. You stop overextending. You stop living in reaction mode. and you begin to build something steady. You begin to move from intention. You begin to live in alignment. The more you say no to what drains you, the more you can say yes to what lifts you. You create time for rest, for joy, for real connection. You show up to your priorities with full presence, not leftover energy, and in doing so you become more effective, more balanced, and more at peace. Remember, every no is a yes to something deeper. Every boundary is an act of self-respect. Every time you protect your energy, you are reinforcing the life you truly want to live. Don't apologize for that. Stand in it, own it, and keep choosing it, over and over again. Chapter 9. Give feedback with honesty and steady presence. Giving feedback is one of the most difficult yet necessary things to do if you want to build trust, grow as a person, and help others improve. It's not about criticizing, pointing fingers, or trying to sound smarter than someone else. It's about telling the truth in a way that someone can hear it, process it, and use it. It requires honesty, but it also demands presence. Because the energy you bring into the conversation will speak louder than the words you say. If you come in heated, bitter, or passive-aggressive, your message gets lost. But if you speak from calm, grounded clarity, people feel the truth in what you're saying, even if it's hard to hear. You have to understand the weight of your words. Feedback isn't just about delivering a message, it's about the relationship between the people involved. That means you have to be careful, not fake, but intentional. You need to speak with firmness and kindness at the same time. That balance is hard for most people, because we live in a culture where communication often swings to extremes. Either we hold back and say nothing, or we let frustration take over and explode. Neither helps. One avoids the problem, and the other damages the trust. The only way to offer real feedback is to stay steady and speak clearly, even when the conversation feels uncomfortable. You don't have to wait for the perfect moment to say what needs to be said. The right moment is the one where you choose to show up honestly. But that honesty should come from care, not ego. Ask yourself before you speak, am I saying this to help or to hurt? Is my goal to build this person or to prove I'm right? Am I calm enough to speak truthfully without letting my emotions hijack the message? If the answer is no, take a pause, regroup. Let the emotions settle before you speak, because when you give feedback from a reactive state, it often backfires. One of the most powerful things you can do is let someone know that you're on their side before you give feedback. Let them see your intentions are grounded in respect. This doesn't mean you sugarcoat the truth or water it down. It means you deliver it from a place of integrity. Feedback is easier to receive when the person knows it's not an attack, it's an offering, it's a gift, even if it stings at first. When someone believes that you care about them, they're more likely to listen, more likely to reflect, and more likely to grow from what you've shared. Steady presence is what makes your words land. That presence shows that you're not just talking at someone, you're there with them. You're grounded, you're focused, you're not rushing, you're not trying to escape the moment. That calm presence creates safety. It gives the other person room to hear you, not just defend themselves, and it keeps you anchored in your own values. You're not reacting to their reaction. You're staying in control of how you deliver the truth. That control makes your words more impactful, more credible, and more human. You don't have to say everything perfectly. You just have to mean what you say, and say it in a way that respects the dignity of the other person. Speak direct. Don't beat around the bush. Don't overload the conversation with fluff or vague comments. Be specific. Say what you observed. Say what it made you feel or think. Say what can be improved. And most importantly, say it from a grounded place, because people remember not just what you said, but how you made them feel when you said it. Giving feedback also means being willing to receive it. You can't expect to grow if you're not open to hearing the truth about your own blind spot. And the best way to make others feel safe receiving feedback is to model that openness yourself. Ask for honest input. Thank people who tell you the truth. Show that you're not above correction. That humility builds trust. It shows that you're not just giving feedback to control others. You're in the process too. You're learning too. You're willing to face the hard truths, just like you ask others to do. When you give feedback, don't expect instant change. You're planting a seed, not forcing an outcome. Some people will take it well and start making changes. Others may resist at first, get defensive or shut down. That's not your job to control. Your responsibility is to speak clearly, calmly, and with integrity. What the other person does with it is their choice, but the courage to speak the truth with respect is what sets leaders apart. It's what separates shallow connections from strong ones. Real relationships are built not just on support, but on the ability to have tough conversations without breaking trust. Feedback should never be a tool for manipulation. It's not about getting people to act the way you want. It's about offering perspective that can help them see what they may not see. It's about creating space for growth. And if the conversation is rooted in truth and care, even difficult feedback can deepen a relationship rather than damage it. The more you practice giving feedback with steady presence, the more natural it becomes. You stop avoiding conflict. You stop bottling up resentment. You start addressing issues early, with clarity, before they grow into bigger problems. People respect those who tell them the truth, without trying to dominate them. They may not like it in the moment, but they remember who had the courage to speak with honesty and calmness when it mattered. They remember who gave them a mirror instead of judgment. They remember who chose honesty over comfort. And over time, those are the voices they learn to trust. Your ability to give feedback well is not just a communication skill, it's a leadership quality. It's a reflection of how deeply you value truth, how strong your presence is under pressure, and how committed you are to real connection over surface approval. When you can offer feedback with clarity and care, you help people grow. You challenge them to become better. You hold them to a higher standard, not from control, but from belief in their potential. That's why you can't be passive when something needs to be said. You can't stay silent just to keep the peace. Peace without truth is fake, and over time, that silence builds distance, confusion, and resentment. Say what needs to be said. Do it calmly. Do it respectfully. But don't wait forever. The right moment to speak the truth is the moment you recognize it's needed. And when you do it from a steady heart, you build trust that can't be broken. The longer you live, the more you'll see how rare it is to find people who speak clearly and care deeply at the same time. Be one of those people. Be someone who tells the truth, stands calmly in it, and helps others rise because of it. That's what real feedback does. It doesn't tear down, it builds. It doesn't wound, it awakens. And it all starts with your willingness to stay honest and steady in every conversation that counts. Chapter 10. Practice daily to build natural, lasting confidence. Confidence is not something we are born with, nor is it an instant gift that suddenly appears. It grows quietly, steadily, through the simple act of practice, repeated day after day. The kind of confidence that lasts, the confidence that feels natural and unshakable, is built on consistent effort, on showing up for yourself again and again, even when doubt whispers loudly. Every small step taken with intention, every moment you push beyond your comfort zone, adds a brick to the foundation of your self-assurance. This is not about perfection or grand gestures. It is about steady, deliberate practice that turns belief into habit. When you decide to build lasting confidence, you begin by shifting your mindset away from waiting to feel ready before acting. Real confidence doesn't wait for permission, it is forged through action. Each day presents an opportunity to practice being courageous in small ways, speaking your truth, taking a risk, expressing your ideas, or simply standing firm in who you are. The more you engage in these moments, the more your mind rewires itself to trust your ability to handle whatever comes your way. It's in this daily commitment that confidence transforms from a fragile feeling into a deep-rooted part of your character. Many people confuse confidence with arrogance or loudness, but true confidence is quiet and steady. It doesn't need to prove itself with noise or exaggeration. It shows up as calm assurance in your tone, clarity in your decisions, and ease in your presence. To cultivate this kind of confidence, you must create space for self-reflection and self-compassion. Acknowledge your progress and be gentle with setbacks. Confidence grows when you treat yourself like someone worthy of respect, not as a project with flaws to fix immediately. This mindset allows your confidence to expand naturally, without the pressure to be perfect or the fear of failure holding you back. Daily practice means intentionally placing yourself in situations that stretch your abilities. It could be as simple as initiating a conversation, volunteering to lead a small task, or setting boundaries that protect your energy. These moments become your training ground. With each experience, you collect evidence that you can handle discomfort, that your voice matters, and that you can succeed despite uncertainty. Over time, your brain begins to rewrite the story it tells you about yourself. No longer are you the person who doubts or hesitates. You become the one who takes action confidently, even when the outcome is unknown. Building lasting confidence also requires a commitment to learning and growth. It's easy to become discouraged by setbacks or mistakes, but these are not signs of failure. They are proof you are moving forward. When you practice daily, you develop resilience. You learn to view challenges as opportunities to improve rather than threats to your self-worth. This shift in perspective is crucial. Confidence is not a destination but a journey, and the more you embrace this journey with persistence, the stronger your confidence becomes. Each challenge you face head-on becomes a building block that supports your belief in yourself. Surrounding yourself with positive influences can accelerate this process. When you engage with people who encourage your growth and celebrate your efforts, you reinforce the habit of confidence. These relationships act as mirrors, reflecting your potential back to you and reminding you of your value. Equally important is learning to protect yourself from voices that undermine your self-belief. Daily practice includes guarding your inner dialogue and choosing environments that nurture your courage instead of draining it. This protection strengthens your resolve to keep practicing, even when external circumstances are difficult. Consistency is the secret ingredient. Confidence doesn't grow overnight, but with daily attention, it deepens into a natural state of being. Imagine confidence as a muscle that becomes stronger every time you use it. If you neglect it, it weakens. If you challenge it, it grows. When you commit to daily practice, you are exercising this muscle intentionally. The more you practice, the easier it becomes to trust your abilities, speak your truth, and stand tall in your presence. Confidence then no longer depends on external validation. It becomes intrinsic, a core part of who you are. Part of practicing daily is embracing the discomfort that comes with growth. Confidence does not exist in comfort zone. It lives in the spaces where you feel uncertain, but choose to act anyway. This means welcoming the nervousness, the doubt, and even the fear, without letting them control your choices. Over time, you learn to distinguish between healthy caution and unnecessary hesitation. This awareness gives you power. The power to decide to move forward regardless of internal noise. That decision, repeated daily, builds a habit of courage that underpins your lasting confidence. Another vital aspect of practice is preparation. Confidence is amplified when you equip yourself with the skills and knowledge needed for the tasks ahead. This preparation might mean practicing a speech, rehearsing a difficult conversation, or simply reviewing your goals and values each day. The sense of readiness that comes from preparation feeds your confidence. It replaces uncertainty with clarity, and that clarity creates a solid ground beneath your feet. When you walk into any situation prepared, your confidence shines because you know you've done your part. Reflection is equally essential. At the end of each day, take a moment to review your actions and acknowledge your growth. Celebrate the moments you stepped up, even if they felt small. Recognize the times you held yourself back and consider what you might do differently tomorrow. This reflective practice builds self-awareness, which is the foundation of authentic confidence. When you understand your patterns and triggers, you can navigate challenges with greater ease and maintain your confidence, even in difficult circumstances. Ultimately, daily practice to build lasting confidence is about becoming your own best supporter. It means showing up for yourself with kindness and commitment, no matter how hard the journey gets. It means refusing to let fear dictate your choices and choosing courage instead. This path requires patience because growth is gradual, but every step forward matters. Over time, these daily efforts accumulate, shaping you into a person who moves through life with a quiet strength that cannot be shaken. This kind of confidence empowers you to face challenges, build meaningful relationships, and create the life you truly want. Confidence built this way is deeply rooted. It does not rely on luck, chance, or the approval of others. Instead, it is a reliable inner compass that guides you through uncertainty and change. When you practice daily with intention, you build this compass stronger and stronger. It becomes your natural way of being. Calm, clear, and steady. This is the confidence that lasts beyond fleeting moments of success. It stays with you through setbacks and triumphs alike, supporting you as you continue to grow and reach for new heights. The choice to practice daily is yours. No matter where you start or how uncertain you feel, you can commit to showing up for yourself each day. This commitment transforms your doubts into belief and your fears into action. It turns the idea of confidence from something distant into something tangible, accessible, and real. Through this ongoing practice, you unlock your potential and discover the power that comes from trusting yourself fully, day after day, in every moment.